The story begins in 1944. An old man appeared in the vast plains of Leppegrund, Finland. His name was Atammy. Atammy was picking stones from the river and washing them carefully. Once the mud washed away, he spotted a shiny fragment among the rocks. It was a piece of gold. A faint smile formed on Atammy's face. He had been searching for a gold deposit for years. For the first time, he had found a piece of gold. He realized a gold source must be somewhere near the river. Atammy pitched a tent and began digging holes throughout the area. But despite hours of searching, he found nothing more. Meanwhile, fighter planes roared across the sky. In the distance, Atammy saw a battle raging between Nazi and Finnish troops, followed by explosions echoing across the land. The war had grown more intense than ever. Yet Atammy remained focused. He kept working as if unaware of everything around him. One morning, while digging the soil, a sudden sound caught his attention. He quickly swept the dirt aside with his hands and uncovered a large piece of gold buried beneath the ground. Atammy was overwhelmed with joy. Tears filled his eyes. Years of effort had finally rewarded him. That night, he collected all the gold pieces and guarded them with his gun in hand. The next morning, he took a bath. His body was covered in bruises and deep cuts. There was even a long scar across his stomach. The story behind these wounds is revealed later in the film. After bathing, Atammy placed all the gold into his horse's saddlebag. Then he set off, with his loyal dog following beside him. A group of Nazi soldiers retreating from Finland toward Germany was moving along the same route. When they saw Atammy, they stopped. Their faces clearly showed cruelty and merciless intent. Nearby, a truck was loaded with several women. These Nazi soldiers had kidnapped Finnish girls and brought them along for their own abuse, but Atammy quietly passed by them as if he hadn't noticed them. Meanwhile, one of the soldiers named Wolf got off the truck. He lifted his sniper rifle and aimed it directly at Atammy, but his superior, Bruno, stopped him. As they moved farther ahead, they saw 4 or 5 Nazi soldiers standing beside a car. Their vehicle had broken down, causing them to fall behind the previous group. This was why Bruno had said that the old man was walking toward his death. One of the soldiers grabbed Atammy by the neck and pulled him off his horse. He asked, "Where are you going, Grandpa? There's nothing out there for you." Atammy's fists tightened. Another soldier stepped forward, opened Atammy's bag, and pulled out the gold. The soldiers cheered at the sight of 2 bags full of gold. Atammy understood exactly what was about to happen. He signaled his dog to run. The dog sprinted away. One of the soldiers opened fire at the dog, but the dog narrowly escaped and fled into the distance. Bruno and the other soldiers ahead heard the gunshots. They assumed their comrades had killed the old man. Meanwhile, the soldiers took Atammy's rifle and ordered him to kneel. Atammy's anger erupted. He clenched his knife tightly, and in an instant, he drove the blade into the soldier's head. The remaining soldiers froze in shock. They never imagined an old man could fight back with such ferocity. They rushed toward Atammy to kill him. Atammy lunged forward as well. Within moments, he killed 2 soldiers with his knife. Then another soldier grabbed Atammy from behind, but Atammy used his cunning. He seized the soldier's gun, shot him in the leg, and then blew his head apart with the rifle. The sound of gunfire reached Bruno. He became suspicious. Bruno ordered his team to stop and returned to the scene. When he arrived, he was stunned. The man he had assumed was weak had single-handedly taken down 4 of his soldiers. Bruno noticed one soldier still clinging to life. He went closer and saw a piece of gold in his hand. The dying soldier looked at him. Bruno instantly understood the truth. The old man possessed a large amount of gold. Meanwhile, Atammy, now back on his horse, continued toward his goal, but then he heard the sound of a tank behind him. He turned and saw Bruno advancing at full speed. Atammy immediately urged his horse to move faster. Bruno opened fire from behind. Atammy dodged the bullets and quickly moved out of the tank's line of fire. Bruno then stopped his pursuit, as though waiting for something. Seeing no one following him, Atammy slowed his horse and gently soothed it. Suddenly, a massive explosion erupted. The blast tore his horse apart, and Atammy was thrown violently across the ground. Hearing the explosion, a wicked smile spread across Bruno's face. Now, with his entire squad, he advanced in the same direction. Meanwhile, Atammy saw his beloved horse lying dead in front of him. He embraced the horse and broke down in tears. Then he realized that countless mines had been laid along the nearby road. These mines were deliberately placed by Bruno and his soldiers to ensure no one survived while passing through. Atammy's horse had been killed by one of these mines. Atammy composed himself and began collecting the scattered pieces of gold. This was his last asset, and he didn't want to lose it at any cost. Just then, Bruno and his men arrived. All the soldiers stepped out and pointed their guns at Atammy, but Atammy, unfazed, continued gathering his gold. Bruno watched silently, wondering how a man could face death without fear. Within moments, Atammy filled his bag and picked up a stone from the ground. Wolf raised his sniper rifle and aimed at Atammy, but before he could shoot, Atammy hurled the stone with great force toward a mine. It struck the mine, triggering a massive explosion and filling the area with smoke. The Nazi soldiers panicked and began firing wildly. Atammy used a steel plate as a shield, blocking the incoming bullets. Bruno, realizing their firing was pointless, ordered his men to stop. The road was covered with mines, preventing them from advancing with tanks or vehicles. Bruno then commanded one soldier to move forward. The terrified soldier stepped ahead, surrounded by smoke and mines beneath his feet. Suddenly, a mine landed near his head and he was blown apart. Atammy had thrown the mine. Bruno and his team were stunned. They had been fighting the war for 6 years, yet they had never witnessed witness something like this. Bruno then ordered 2 more soldiers to advance. They avoided the center of the road and ran along the edges, but after only a short distance, a powerful explosion tore one of them apart. A few steps later, the second soldier was also killed in another blast. Bruno asked Wolf, "How many mines did you place here?" Wolf replied, "We used every mine we had." Bruno walked toward the dead horse and found a tag there. It belonged to Atammy. Bruno realized that if the situation continued, all his soldiers would die. He then released 2 of the kidnapped women. They were tied with ropes and forced to walk along the edges of the road, positioned exactly between the width of a tank's wheels, so that if a mine detonated, they would trigger it first. This showed how merciless Bruno truly was. After this, they began checking the information on the tag Bruno found. Wolf contacted the general directly, and his face turned pale as he listened. The general said, "You're lucky to be alive. The owner of that tag is Atammy Korpe. He is Finland's most feared warrior. Atammy's entire family was killed in Finland's winter war with Russia. Since then, he had become even more dangerous. The Finnish army was unable to control him. Eventually, they sent Atammy alone to fight Russian soldiers, hoping he would be killed in battle. It is said that Atammy single-handedly killed 300 Russians. The Russians tried many times to kill him but failed. They eventually gave him the name Koshe, meaning immortal. They warned others never to cross paths with such a man. Meanwhile, in Norway, Bruno ignored this information. He said, "We are losing the war anyway. If we return to Germany, we'll be captured and hanged. But this gold can save us. We can start a new life." They soon left the minefield behind. Bruno ordered the tank to move at full speed. On the other side, Atammy was seen again. He had escaped the area, but the explosion had left him weak. Atammy spotted an old damaged car and sat beside it to rest. His dog arrived and followed his scent. The dog approached him. Atammy had been shot in the leg. He tied a belt around his leg and used a knife to remove the bullet. Many people fear injections, yet this man removed a bullet from his leg with a knife. The cuts seen on Atammy's body earlier were wounds from the war. Despite all these injuries, Atammy continued fighting. He fainted briefly from the pain. A short while later, he regained consciousness when he heard the sound of a tank. He saw Nazi soldiers searching for him. Atammy quickly shifted to the side so they wouldn't notice him. The soldiers passed right by him without realizing he was there. But Atammy noticed 2 dogs following them, ready to detect his scent. Atammy wondered what he should do next. He rolled under a truck and hid there. The dogs, following his scent, moved closer. Atammy tore open the truck's oil tank and poured the oil over himself. The oil masked his scent, preventing the dogs from identifying him. But one soldier noticed oil spilled on the ground. They checked under the truck. Atammy crawled out and began to run. At that moment, Wolf spotted him and shot Atammy in the leg with a sniper rifle. Atammy collapsed. Bruno shouted, "There's no escape now! Kill him and the dogs!" 2 dogs immediately charged toward Atammy. Atammy grabbed a piece of wood, set it ablaze, and within moments, his entire body caught fire. The dogs backed away in fear. The Nazi soldiers kept firing rocks and debris sliding from explosions. Atammy ran straight toward the riverbank and jumped into the water, extinguishing the flames on his body. All the soldiers gathered at the riverbank and waited for Atammy to surface, knowing no human could stay underwater for long. After some time, Atammy raised his head above the water. Wolf fired a shot at him with his sniper, but Atammy instantly submerged again, avoiding the bullet. A considerable amount of time passed, but Atammy did not surface. Bruno then sent 3 soldiers in a boat to the middle of the river to retrieve the gold. One soldier jumped into the water, but before he could react, Atammy slit his throat with a knife and took the air from his lungs. With blood spreading in the river, Bruno ordered the next soldier to jump in, and he met the same fate. Bruno then sent the last soldier, but he was so terrified that he couldn't bring himself to enter the water. Bruno told Wolf to shoot him if he tried to escape with the boat. The soldier suddenly ran in the opposite direction. Wolf immediately fired and killed him, but even after his death, the boat continued moving. This meant the boat wasn't drifting on its own. Atammy was pulling it from underwater. Atammy then burst out of the water and started running. Wolf fired continuously from the tank's machine gun, but Atammy somehow managed to escape. Meanwhile, Atammy's dog reached the riverbank and barked loudly. Bruno saw the dog and came up with a cruel plan. Atammy, walking with difficulty, reached his village, but everything was engulfed in flames. The brutality of the Nazi soldiers became clear. They had burned the entire village. The smoke and the echoes of suffering made the atmosphere heavy and terrifying. Atammy sat near a ruined house to rest. A short while later, he woke up to the sound of his dog barking. Atammy came out and searched for the dog in the darkness. The dog ran toward him, and Atammy tried to catch it, but then he noticed a bomb tied to the dog's body, burning. The dog carried the bomb away and threw it aside before it exploded. The blast threw Atammy backward. Bruno and Wolf arrived moments later. They knew the dog would follow Atammy by scent, so they tied the bomb to the dog and sent it toward him. Wolf then took a noose and hung it from a pole. They placed the rope around Atammy's neck. Wolf pulled the rope, hanging Atammy. Atammy struggled, then went limp, pretending to die. One soldier removed his hat in respect, believing Atammy had died, because even an enemy could honor a warrior like him. Bruno picked up Atammy's bag of gold and slipped a piece into his pocket. The 3 Nazis then left the area. Atammy's body remained hanging there. After some time, Atammy opened his eyes. He had been pretending to be dead the entire time, waiting for them to leave. leave. In severe pain, he pushed himself upward and placed his foot on a small metal bracket attached to a poster to relieve the pressure on his neck, but his foot repeatedly slipped. Then Atammy noticed the road beside him. He pressed his injured leg against it. Atammy screamed internally in pain, but by pushing against the road, he reduced enough weight from the rope to breathe. Atammy spent the entire night hanging there. The next morning, a plane flew overhead. The wind bent the poster on which Atammy was hanging. A moment later, Atammy falls. The plane that flew past just moments ago now lands at the same spot. It is a German plane. Two Nazi soldiers arrive to search for oil. One soldier notices Atammy and is shocked that someone survived being hanged. He draws his gun and is about to fire, but Atammy kicks him away. The soldier falls on a brick. His head splits open and he dies. Atammy throws a brick at the second soldier, sending him into a wall where he collapses unconscious. Atammy's heart grows heavier. He sits down holding the gold piece that Bruno placed in his pocket last night. Now all the Nazis have stolen the rest of his gold. Atammy feels lost. Then he spots the same plane that brought these two soldiers. Atammy forms a plan. He removes the dead soldier's uniform and wears it. He stitches the wound near his stomach using iron and wire and pulls out the bullet. He washes his injuries with petrol. He steals the plane and takes off. Meanwhile, Bruno travels toward Norway with his team. He then decides that he and Ulf will escape earlier than the others, and that a plane will secretly pick them up. But soon they see a fighter plane crashed in the middle of the road. Bruno and some soldiers move ahead to inspect it. They find a dead Nazi lying inside, the same rope still around his neck. Ulf recognizes it. It is the rope they used to hang Atammy last night. Bruno is horrified. He cannot understand how this is possible. He orders everyone to make sure the tank continues at full speed no matter what. The group of soldiers advances again, but their deaths begin. Two soldiers sit in the truck carrying the girls. Suddenly, one soldier is stabbed in the neck by Atammy's knife and dies instantly. The second soldier leans out to see what happened, only to be dragged out and crushed by a tank behind him. Atammy enters the truck and hands the girls their rifles so they can fight back. Atammy gets out again. An iron rod strikes the soldier near his ear, but he survives. The next rod pierces his head. Atammy pulls the soldier out and one of the girls takes control of the truck. She accelerates and drives straight toward the soldiers ahead. Inside the truck, the girls fire their rifles and kill every soldier in front. Atammy jumps off the truck and climbs onto the tank. With an axe in hand, he strikes the tank's gate. Bruno steers hard and shakes the tank, causing Atammy to fall. The gate suddenly opens and Ulf emerges, throwing stones at him. Atammy manages to dodge and climbs back onto the tank. A fight breaks out between Atammy and Ulf. Atammy lands a heavy punch that snaps Ulf's arm. Both men fall from the tank. Bruno looks through the telescope and sees Ulf on the ground. Instead of helping him, Bruno escapes. Atammy overpowers Ulf and raises his axe to kill him, but Ulf folds his hands and begs for forgiveness. Two Nazi soldiers arrive on a motorcycle. Atammy lifts his axe to warn them. Frightened, the two soldiers drop their weapons and run away. Leaving Ulf behind, Atammy jumps onto a motorcycle and races after Bruno. Ulf believes he has survived, but the same girls who suffered under the Nazis appear, ready to take their revenge. Meanwhile, Bruno drives his tank toward the plane he plans to use for escape. A pilot waits beside it. Bruno shoots his own tank driver and boards the plane. As the plane accelerates down the runway, Atammy arrives and starts firing at it, but the plane gains speed and lifts into the air. Atammy quickly pulls out his axe and jumps onto the aircraft. Within moments, the plane climbs to a high altitude. The pilot is shot in the neck. Atammy hangs outside the plane. He uses his axe to rip off the hood and manages to climb inside. Bruno steps forward to stop him. A fight breaks out between them. Atammy eventually collapses from exhaustion. Bruno repeatedly punches him in the face. He keeps shouting, "Why don't you die?" But even after the blows, Atammy rises again, refusing to give up. Atammy then notices a large bomb nearby. He fastens the hook in Bruno's hand to the bomb. The bomb detonates. He releases himself. The bomb immediately begins to fall and Bruno falls with it. Bruno screams, "You'll go to hell!" Moments later, the bomb hits the ground with a massive explosion. At the same moment, the plane loses control and starts to crash. Atammy notices that the pilot is dead. He looks around the plane but finds no parachute. Atammy wonders what to do next. He clutches his sleeping bag tightly and ties himself securely to the plane. Moments later, the plane crashes near a body of water. Mud splashes everywhere. Some time passes, but Atammy does not appear. Is he dead? Can anyone survive a plane crash? Then bubbles rise from the water. Atammy, using his axe, forces his way out of the mud. He pulls out both of his sleeping bags. His entire body is coated in mud, and his face shows the pride of someone who has defeated death once again. On the other side, the girls destroy Bruno's tank and capture Ulf. They hand him over to the Finnish forces. We then see a war-torn city. Atammy arrives on a motorcycle with 2 bags of gold on his shoulders and heads straight into a bank. Seeing him, everyone runs away in fear. Atammy enters the bank and places the gold from both bags on a table. Everyone is shocked by the amount of gold. Atammy says he wants cash in exchange in large denominations, so he will not face any trouble transporting it. The film ends here.